So Andrew and I, we're going to attempt to explain to you how to play a game. I'm thinking, Andrew, that we might play two hands. So we'll play like half a game.
Yeah.
And we'll hopefully talk through how we're doing it so that teachers can get an idea to work with their students. So do you want to get us started?
Absolutely. So great call on doing a half. And that's the best thing about the game as well, that every stage is iterative. So you play 4 quarters in a full game, or 4 hands representing all 4 quarters. But once teachers and also students as well get the hang of playing a hand or two, like the same process just replicates after that. Of course, when you're playing, you'd normally only be playing with one deck, but the benefit of not being in the same room, let alone the same state together, is that we're playing with 2 decks. But of course, exactly the same kind of process plays out. So in terms of how we go about it, shuffle the deck and appoint somebody as a dealer. And that player will then deal 7 cards face down to all players. So I'm dealing 7 cards.
Can I ask, Andrew, do I get my 7 cards from the dealer one after the other, or is it 1 card per player and we go around that way?
I tend to go around just to make sure that maybe for those who haven't shuffled the deck properly, that tends to make sure that you don't get a clump of really good cards together. But completely up to the user's discretion. House rules or classroom rules, whatever is best suited.
Okay, so thank you. I've got my 7 cards here. Now, Andrew's going to keep his hidden. I'm going to show mine on my document camera.
I'll pretend not to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I like my cards, but that's okay. We can work with these.
That's all right. So at this stage, we've picked up and viewed all 7. I may as well show you what my 7 look like here as well. And at this stage of the game, we can choose to discard and replace as many as we want. We can only do it once per turn, so you have to be quite selective about it. But really, hopefully, teachers, what you can see here is that there is a little bit of a strategic trade-off here. And looking at Paula's card, will she choose to keep 2 North Melbournes knowing that they're worth 0 in the hope that she gets a 3rd, or will she discard them because they're not a very good score? So that can kind of get some chance and data element to strategic thinking skills for kids, in addition to some of the counting skills that the game has taken us through. In this case here, I have these 2 cards here that, as we can see here, they're only worth 1 behind each. They're not matching. So I'm going to discard them and get 2 replacements in the deck. So 1 and 2.
So Andrew, I'm going to discard these 3 cards. I'm kind of putting my money on getting those. So Andrew would, the dealer, he would deal me 3 new cards.
You've lucked out. Oh, well done. Well done.
Okay, so I've got my cards. I've now got 7 cards. So what do I do here now, Andrew?
Great question. So now, as we explained before, each hand only has 5 cards in it. So we choose 5 cards to play, and then you save 2 cards for next time. Now, the cards that you're saving, they can be your 2 worst cards, or you might want to hold on to 2 of your best cards strategically to try and set you up for the next quarter. Again, this is where an element of user discretion comes into it, and it's really quite interesting seeing some of the different tactics and strategies that different players employ. So in this case here, as an example, again, I normally wouldn't be showing it to the audience, but we are explaining how to play. This is my final set of 7 cards. So what I'm going to do here is, I wasn't successful, unlike Paula, of completing my set of Adelaide Crows. So they're going to be the 2 cards that I hold on for next time, because I'm really hopeful that once I redraw for the second quarter, that I might be able to get that 3 of the kind of Adelaide Crows then. So I'm going to hold these back, and then these are going to be the 5 that I choose to play.
Okay, so I've decided to definitely keep my 3 North Melbourne 0 scores there. And I'm going to put my 2 behinds. I'm going to hang on to those for the next round. So hang on, Andrew. I'm just grabbing a piece of paper. Only because we better do a little bit of scoring here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question. So I've got here the feud card, the tackle card, that says I can take any card from your hand. Now, do you score? Okay, so let's say, for example, I take one of your 1 goal cards.
Yep.
Do you include that in your score, or is that card not existent in your score anymore?
Great question. So I would always play the feud cards before we score. So in this case here, you would say, yep, you have the tackle card, you tackle one of my 1 goal cards. So I would hand this over to you, Paula, for you to magically add a Port Adelaide 1 goal card to your hand. And then after that's complete, then we would score.
Oh, okay. So, well, actually, that's not what I'm going to do, though.
Oh, no.
Okay. Because I do like to play strategically. And so I'm looking at the moment at the fact that I've got 4 goals.
Correct.
2 goals here, and I've got my 2 goals here. And I'm allowed to take any card from your hand. And I can see that you've got the full forward card, which is going to double the goals for this quarter. So could I please have your full forward card?
I thought I got away with on that before, Paula, but that's okay. There we go.
So there's Andrew's full forward card. So I'm now thinking, let's go, Paula. So I now have 2, 4, but I double it. So I now have 8 goals. So 8 times 6 plus 0 behinds. So I have 48 points for my first quarter. Can I ask, do you want to check that for me to see if that's correct maths? Because I always think it's really good for kids to check each other's.
Absolutely. And the thing that I'm really pleased with there, Paula, as well, is that you still applied the double goals to the 2 goal bonus. So essentially the 2 goal bonus becomes worth a 4 goal bonus if you have the Bulldogs. So that score is absolutely perfect.
Okay. So Andrew, what was your score, please?
Well, I had a far better score about a minute ago before my full forward was rudely snapped from me, but it isn't called Footy Feud for no reason. So we can see here, I now have 2 goals, 2 goals and 1 behind, which is 13 points. You might notice as well, audience watching in, that I'm tending to score by doing goals behinds total. I have noticed a lot of kids in the classroom count the scores out as well. So either approach is great, but I really like the way how Paul is doing it and stepping through this way, because I feel it's really logical in terms of how those final scores are achieved.
Now, Andrew, at the moment, I'm scoring for both of us, and I know Footy Feud can be played with up to 6 children, which I think is a great thing because so many card games are in pairs. Would we get every student to score their own, or would we actually have one student who was the recorder, but everyone had to tell the recorder what to write down?
I've seen many different examples playing out. Even in a classroom in Melbourne that I was at today, you had some groups that had a recorder, you had some tables where every student was kind of scoring themselves. I think this one is really at the discretion of the teacher, but also the maths competencies of the students who are playing. Whenever I play Footy Feud, the more advanced version with my mates, I just tend to score for simplicity. So that's probably the approach that I would take. Although
Okay.
I really feel that there's benefit in everybody scoring to really hone that, those numeracy skills, then 100%. That's certainly an option as well.
Okay, so we finished the first quarter.